Hi and happy day. I'm here today to share with you some inputs about work-life balance. And this is a topic very close to my heart. I would like to start with this quote by Dolly Parton, which says, "Never get so busy making a living that you forget to make a life." And that's what we're going to be seeing over the next hour and a half about what is it that we need to do, or what are the things that we can do or change to bring about balance and harmony. Let's first begin looking at an overview of all the things that we're going to go over today. We start with understanding what work-life balance itself is. Then we look at work-life balance in different stages of our life. We consider why we need this concept of work-life balance, what's its importance. Then we'll explore how balanced your life is right now. We'll do a baseline to understand where you stand. And finally, I'll share with you some tried and tested tips, tricks, and techniques on creating a harmonious and balanced life. Let's get right into it. What is work-life balance? To understand the concept of work-life balance, don't you think it's necessary for us to first ask the question, what is work and what is life? So let's start from there. What is the concept of work? As a concept, work refers to any activity into which we pour our effort, and this effort can be physical or mental. And such effort leads to a certain outcome, which in turn brings us a desired compensation. That's what is work. Now let's look at the concept of life. Life is so subjective. Every individual looks at the concept of life very differently. And one of the things that contributes to this is it's not a static concept. At every age, every stage of our lives, the way we perceive this concept changes. It shifts naturally because we evolve. So this is a huge concept, and I'm going to take you through that in just a moment so you will get a more holistic understanding of this. For now, let's look at work-life balance itself. What is the technical definition of it? It's fairly simple and straightforward. It is your ability to manage your work as well as your personal responsibilities while still having enough time for leisure and rest. Simple enough? Straightforward? Now, what exactly does work-life balance look like? Work-life balance basically changes throughout our life. Like I said, the concept of life itself is something that changes. As a result, the concept of this balance also shifts. Now, we all go through different life stages, right? I'm sure you're all aware of this. We are born as young babies, we grow into children and adolescents, and eventually into adults. So childhood is that phase between 5 to 12 years. Adolescence is between 13 to 19, and adulthood is all of our rest of our life, 20 plus. At each of these stages, because we look at life differently, the concept of this balance between work and life also keeps changing. Here's an illustration to simplify this. In childhood, the concept of work relates to studies, anything related to school. It could be exams, homework, classwork, or even extracurricular and co-curricular activities, preparing for the school's annual day or the sports day, for instance. Any structured activity. In fact, I would even add after-school classes, which are structured, which have a pattern in terms of time and schedule, etc. All of that becomes work. But as a child, what does life look like? The concept of life in childhood is all about play. Play can be free play, it can be outdoor play, it can be all kinds of different things that children do. It also includes hobbies and entertainment in the form of perhaps watching cartoons on television. As we grow into teenage years, we become adolescents. At this stage of life, work grows or evolves into being academic work related to our high school or college. Often, this includes project work, even internship, as we grow older and start maturing. At this stage, The concept of life is no longer about free play. It's no longer about hobbies or entertainment. But this becomes more about friends, hanging out with friends, partying, dressing up, social media, and all of that. Come adulthood, and once again, there is a shift. And you all are at this stage in life right now where you're about to graduate and join the workforce. When that happens, some of you might join a job, either corporate or a small startup. Others might become entrepreneurs and start your own business, your own setup. Regardless of what you do, at this stage, you will see that the definition of work that we started with matches exactly with the concept, right? So you're going to be putting in effort, whatever that is, based on the skills you've acquired throughout your education years. Using those skills, you're then going to be earning a pay package, which is the compensation that comes in for the outcome, which is the result of your efforts, whatever it is that you're working towards. So it's all goal-oriented. At this stage, again, the concept of life undergoes a transformation or a shift, while the rest of it can still be part of our life. We may still enjoy entertainment and hobbies. We may still like hanging out with our friends. We may like gaming and social media. But at this stage, a greater degree of responsibility sets in. It is at this stage we start thinking about relationships, about committing to other people, starting a family, building assets, saving money, and travel becomes one of the leisure activities that many adults are able to connect with. Now let's quickly look at why do we need work-life balance? Do we even need a work-life balance? Research has shown that people who lead balanced lives tend to be happier, healthier, more peaceful, more productive, and filled with happy, healthy relationships. Now let's take an example. Let's go back to the previous slide for a second and think about childhood. It's the easiest example to give. We looked at work in childhood as schoolwork, academics, and life as play. Consider a child who spends all his or her time in studies and there is absolutely no time left over for any fun activity or play or any of those things that children normally do. Would you call that a balanced life? Obviously not. There is that inherent element of imbalance that sets in. And there is this famous saying, as cliched as it sounds, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy, which is very true. When there is no fun, no leisure, no rest, life can become a drudgery. And that is why balance is so critical. Being able to allocate sufficient amount of time for work and sufficient amount of time for life outside of work. That is what work-life balance is all about. Now let's explore, where do you currently stand when it comes to work-life balance? One of the simplest ways of doing it is using something that I call a time pie. This is a time pie and it's something you can create. It's very easy. All you have to do is draw a circle and divide it into 8 equal parts. Each part or segment of this circle is called a pie and the whole image is called a time pie. How does this work? All of us have 24 hours in a day. So we make an assumption, a healthy assumption, that we're going to be taking away 8 hours for sleep. Now, if you don't get 8 hours, then we will talk about that a little later when we talk about lifestyle. For now, we are assuming that every one of us is going to spend 8 hours sleeping, which means we are left with 16 waking hours. Now, this time pie represents those 16 waking hours, each pie representing 2 hours. Here is what I would like you to do. Reflect for a moment on what does your typical day look like. Bunch up similar activities together. Like for example, you eat breakfast, you eat lunch, you eat dinner. All of that goes into nutrition. You spend time wearing your clothes, grooming, spending time on the toilet and showering, grooming. That's all personal care. All that comes under one heading. So this way, bunch up similar things that you do throughout the day. Then, using your own method, color or shade your time pie. I'm going to give you a sample of that so it becomes clearer. Here is a time pie which was created by an old M.O.P student. What she did was, she bunched up all of her regular daily activities like this. The yellow represents the amount of time that she spent at college. That was 5 hours. That is 2 plus 1 hour. She split one of those pies into 2. So totally this chunk represents 5 hours. Then she used to take an hour to commute to the college and back. So the balanced 1 hour that she found over here, she colored it in blue and called that the commute pie. She then put another 2 hours for all of her self-care, including nutrition, right? All of those things that I said, food, getting ready, grooming, all of that. That took the pink pie. She realized that every day after college, she would spend about 2 hours hanging out with her friends. She put green and said, that's my time with friends. And quite interestingly, she discovered that the remaining 6 hours in a day, in bits and pieces through the course of the entire day, she spent on different types of social media, be it Insta or Snapchat or FaceTime or Facebook. So she consolidated all of that and put it in this way. And suddenly she realized, oh my God, this is not a balanced life. I'm spending way too much time doom scrolling or just hovering in that social media space. And that's not really fetching me any satisfaction or fulfillment genuinely. This therefore becomes a launch pad for you. I'm not saying that this is exactly how your time pie would look. Your pie can look completely different from this, and you might not even have a social media pie right there. But I'm sure you will find your own time grabbers. And once you identify that, this can become that starting point from where you begin to reflect on what is it about this time pie that I would like to change? What are the things that I would like to continue doing? What are the things I would like to give up doing? And you have the power to change the way this pie looks, depending on the power that you have to change your own routine. Once you know where you stand and you realize that you would like to change some things, then, like I said, you have the power to do that. Along with changing your routine, I'm now going to be sharing with you 5 tried and tested methods or techniques which will help you to establish a balanced and harmonious life. Now, when your life is balanced, it results in a sense of peace and tranquility. And therefore, I've used the acronym PEACE to list down these 5 topics that I'm going to be discussing with you. First one is prioritize yourself, establish healthy boundaries, adopt a healthy lifestyle, cut down on screen time, and embrace mindfulness. As you can see, the acronym PEACE, PEACE, is what lists down these. Now we're going to spend a little bit of time going through each of these topics. Let's begin with prioritizing yourself. Now, priorities are a huge part of developing any kind of balance. When we are not able to prioritize, that's when we feel lost. So what are priorities? The simple and most straightforward way to look at priorities is, what do you hold close to your heart? What are the things that matter to you? What do you consider important in your life? That's what your priorities are. I'm going to now introduce a very fun way to identify your unconscious priorities. This is taken from Sigmund Freud's school of thought called psychoanalysis, and it relies heavily on unconscious mind and how human beings tend to unconsciously do certain things which they may not be consciously aware of. Now, we're going to need a paper and a pen or a pencil to do this task, so I'm going to ask you to quickly grab a paper and pen. Here is what we're going to do. I will call out the names of 7 different animals. At first, you list down those animals in that same order that I'm calling them out. And once you're done, take a moment to think about how you feel about those animals. Then you rank them. You rank those 7 animals in the order of your liking. So your most favorite animal goes right on top. It gets the first rank. The one that you like a little less gets the second rank, and so on, until you reach the animal you absolutely dislike or hate. Put that down right at the bottom, give it the 7th rank. Make sure that you rank all 7 animals, don't miss any of them out. Okay? I'm guessing you're ready with your paper and pen. And we're going to start. I'm also going to show you a model of each animal, so it's also visual and it's easy for you to decide which animal you like. The first animal I'm going to tell you is a cow. So write down cow on your list. The second animal is a horse. Write down horse on your list. The third animal is a monkey. So the monkey goes on your list. The fourth animal is a dog. Dogs come in various breeds. I have this one just as a sample representation. So the dog goes on your list. The fifth animal is a tiger. Roar. Tiger goes on your list. The sixth animal is a goat. Goat on your list. And finally, the seventh animal is a cat. Right? Cat on your list. So I'm going to repeat that. We started with cow, horse, monkey, dog, tiger, goat, and cat. Now, what do these mean? Now, the ranking, it's up to you whether you want to write the ranks next to the animals or you want to rewrite the animal names in the order of your writing. That's absolutely up to you. Go ahead and take a moment now to reflect and rank your animals. Remember, you need to rank all 7 of them. Don't miss anything out because each of them represents something, some value, something, some priority in your life. Now, this is what Freudian psychoanalysis says about these symbols or animals. The cow represents family. So if you ranked this right on top, that means family is your highest priority. The horse represents your ambition, your career, your professional life. So if this is on top, then you know that that's what you value the most in your life. The monkey often stands for wealth and money. Sometimes even social status and prestige. I think the psychological implication is that the monkey is constantly jumping from one place to the other, and wealth and money are also very fickle. They are here today, gone tomorrow. So that is why the monkey symbolizes wealth and money. The dog stands for loyalty, integrity, faithfulness. Those are the things. So suppose you have the dog right on top, that means those are your values and you really prioritize that more than anything else in your life. The tiger stands for your pride, your ego, yourself. Now, there is something very interesting about the tiger that I must share. The most ideal position for the tiger would be 4. That means you have a very balanced sense of self. You're neither too much into yourself and opinionated, nor are you completely deprioritizing yourself. So if you have ranked the tiger at number 1, it's possible that you're very rigid in your thinking and it's hard for you to integrate other people's opinions. On the other hand, if you have put the tiger right at the bottom at 7, it's possible that you often feel that your own opinions don't matter and you tend to put other people first. And this can cause a lot of resentment. And that's why having a balanced position for the tiger helps. Of course, it's not necessary that it has to be 4. Even 3 or 5 are also okay. That's reasonably balanced. But the top 2 and the bottom 2 positions are usually undesirable for the tiger. Then we have the goat. The goat represents your friends and your social circle. Freud also says this could represent romance and intimacy, but the jury is out on that. So we are just going to stick to social life and friends. And finally, the cat. The cat is a symbol of independence, freedom, as well as vanity. If you've noticed cats, they keep grooming themselves. They're very vain. They want to always keep maintaining themselves. So it could also mean that you're spending a lot of time in front of the mirror. So if you put this right on top, might want to do a small reality check to figure out if that's something you want to continue doing. Now that you have these priorities in place, ask yourself if these unconscious priorities actually match the individual that you have come to see yourself as. Some people tell me that, oh, no, this is absolute hogwash. This does not match what I really do or want in life. And it turns out in many cases that even though consciously they believe that they are into something, their unconscious priorities are actually very different. Let me give you an example for that. I once had someone who had placed horse right at the top, but claimed that my family is my first priority. I don't want to put my career above my family. It doesn't matter if I don't have a job, I'm not too keen on a profession, I'm not an ambitious person. Family is what matters to me more than anything else, is what this person said. But upon further reflection, what she realized was she always felt the sense that something was missing. There was a restlessness in her soul, an unhappiness that was bone deep. And she was never able to figure that out until that day when she suddenly realized that even though she was leading this family life and very domestic and claiming to be perfectly happy being the housewife, in reality, she was an ambitious person who wanted to work, who wanted to make a difference in the world. Once she realized that, she started her own business. It was part-time and a small business at the start, but it grew because she was so passionate about it. She was so driven and committed to that cause. So you see how when you align your deepest core priorities with what you're doing consciously, you can truly achieve a lot of success, a great deal of peace, joy, and happiness. That is why identifying your priorities is so very critical in order to establish a balanced life. Having done this, I'm now going to ask you to take some time, maybe once every week, and reflect on what are your personal priorities. Does it match what this test has said? Or do you feel like, no, this absolutely does not match, it doesn't make any sense? What are the core values that you live by? Values are your principles, the things that mean something to you, that matter a lot, things that you would not give up in any situation, things that you uphold and hold close to your heart, and ultimately your life goals. The reason I ask you to do this is, if your life goal is not aligned with your priorities and core values, you will always find that there is a restlessness in your soul. You will feel like something's missing, that you're not living the optimal life, that there is an imbalance somewhere, and you won't be able to put your finger on it until you're able to resolve this conflict and make these two aligned. Bring your priorities, your values, as well as your life goals in sync, and that will give you the balanced life that you seek. Next is about establishing healthy boundaries. This is a huge topic, and there is so much of research that has gone into this. But given our limited time, I'm not going to dwell on that. I'm going to take the simplistic approach, the shortcut, and share with you my take on what boundaries are. The easiest way to understand boundaries, simply put, are about saying yes to the things that you want in life, the things that you like, that you enjoy, and are part of your overall value system. And learning to say no to the things that don't sit well with you, the things that you don't want to have more of in your life. Now, how exactly do you go about doing this? How can you say yes or no to the things that surround you, be it activities or people or anything else in your life? The surefire way to do that is by getting to know yourself. Unless you know yourself deeply, at a very core level, if you're not connected with what you want out of life, who you are as a person, what your traits are, what are the things that you stand for, and so forth, it's not going to be possible for you to find what exactly is okay and what is not. And unless you do that, you cannot create and hold down boundaries. This is a huge thing to do. Developing self-awareness does not happen overnight. But what we could try and attempt at this point is play a fun game which can give you a small clue and get you started on this journey of introspection. So let's do this personality test. Again, for this you're going to need a paper and a pen. This personality test draws upon the philosophy of Carl Jung. Carl Jung was a philosopher who spoke about the personal unconscious, that is the unconscious that every individual holds within themselves, and the collective unconscious, or the culture's unconscious, the repository from which we all draw upon. This test is called the subconscious symbolism test. And how it works is very simple. I will call out the names of some simple everyday objects, and you draw the first thing that comes to your mind. Relax, don't panic. I'm not looking to hire the next Van Gogh from this group. It's not about how beautiful your drawing is. Rather, I need you to focus on spontaneity. Look for that first image that strikes you, the very first thing that shows up in your mind as soon as you hear the word. Why this is important is everything that we learn and assimilate throughout our lives, be it sensory information or experiential information, it gets stored or encoded in the form of symbols and images and sits in your right hemisphere in the brain. This is also called your long-term memory or subconscious mind. Often, because of social conditioning, we get disconnected from this deep part of ourselves. We tend to do and say things and behave in ways which are socially acceptable. For the moment, I'm asking you to suspend that and just go with the flow. What's the image that pops in your mind as soon as you hear the word? Catch that and draw it. There are 2 ground rules when you're playing this game. First, draw only the object that I'm asking you to draw and nothing else. For example, if I ask you to draw an egg, I would expect you to draw just the egg and nothing else, not a chicken or a half-boiled on the side. Just the egg would do. Second ground rule, only one instance of the object, right? If it's an egg, one egg is all I want, not a whole basket. Clear? Another thing I must say before we proceed is even if your drawing doesn't resemble the object in real life, it doesn't matter as long as you know what you have drawn. That's what is important for the interpretation. For instance, if I say flower, one person might think of a rose, another might think of a sunflower, third person may think of a lily, someone else may think of a jasmine. There are so many flowers out there. Whatever flower came into your mind first, that's what you're going to draw. And even if your drawing doesn't look like that flower, doesn't matter if you know what it is. That's what we need for the interpretation. So now I'm assuming you're ready. And here are the things you're going to draw. Draw the moon, Nila, Chandamama. That's your first drawing. Don't overthink it. Don't edit yourself. Go with whatever's coming in the first image. The second object you're going to draw is a snake, Pambu, Samp. Again, be as spontaneous as you can be. Take a moment and finish that drawing so it feels satisfying and feels like it's done. The third object you're going to draw is a coconut tree, Tennamaram, Nariyal ka ped. The fourth object you're going to draw are mountains, Malay, Pahad. And the last object you're going to draw is a house, Ghar, Veed. So I'm going to repeat the objects that you've drawn. Moon, snake, coconut tree, mountains, and a house. Now let's look at the interpretation of what this actually means. There will be some of you who would have drawn a round full moon like this. And the others would have drawn any variation of a crescent or a half moon. It could be like this, or creative people could have embellished it with a facial feature or an eye and a smile, but that's still a half moon. Even if it is like this, where this part is much wider, but then there is that bend or something missing, this is still considered a half moon. So the only 2 possibilities in this case are it's either a full moon or a not full moon. It could be a half moon, a crescent moon, a creative moon, whatever that is. Now what does this mean? Jungian theologists and philosophers have found that people who draw the full moon tend to be optimistic by nature. These are people who enjoy taking risks. They want a lot of variety in their life. They want to keep trying new and different things. Routine absolutely bores them. They're the adventure seekers, the thrill seekers, so to speak. On the contrary, people who draw the half moon or the crescent moon tend to be very cautious by nature. These are risk-averse individuals who don't want to jump right in. They want to think ahead, they want to plan in advance, they want to systematically decide what's going to happen. They need to know ahead of time what's going to happen 10 days from now. And when things don't go according to plan, they feel very disturbed. These are also people who are very organized by nature and who like to keep things on a ready to use kind of basis. Now, how does this present in the real world? Typically, somebody who draws the full moon would be like this. Ari chalo, let's go watch a movie in the theater, whatever is playing. But the half moon individual would put on the brakes and say, wait, hold on, let me check online to see which theater is playing, what movies, what shows, let's book the seats, let's also book some popcorn on the side, and then we will go watch the movie. So that's the difference in personalities which comes up in the real world between the full moon and the half moon individual. Moving on to the snake. Again, there are two variations which are possible. The first is a simple snake like this. It's a single wavy horizontal or vertical line, or it could be a double horizontal or vertical line, or it could be this S-shaped or a circle like that, but it's completely simple. It's just that simple image. The same simple image, on the other hand, when it has a lot of design and detailing and patterning inside, or it intersects at one or more locations, it becomes a complex snake. There are some other variations of the complex snake which I'll show you now. On the face of it, this looks simple, but if you notice, there's so much of design and detailing on the inside that this qualifies as a complex snake. And then there is the proverbial mosquito coil snake which goes this way, or the spring snake that goes toing like that. All of these fall under the complex category. I'm sure you're now able to distinguish and see where your snake lies. Is it simple or complex? And what does this mean? Again, Jung says that people who draw a simple snake tend to be simple, straightforward individuals. These are people who will say it like it is. They don't know how to sugarcoat things. They are open-hearted individuals who enjoy sharing everything with everyone. Simple snake individuals tend to trust very easily. Also, they don't understand the concept of discretion and confidentiality. So if you have a simple snake friend and if you happen to go tell that person a secret, expect to see it published in the Times of India the next day. It's not out of malicious intention that they do it. It's just that they don't comprehend the idea of discretion or keeping things secret. And because they are so simple and straightforward by nature, they assume that others are exactly like them. As a result, there is a possibility of simple snake individuals getting betrayed, cheated, fooled quite frequently. On the other end of the spectrum, the complex snake, this represents the proverbial onion. They have so many layers to their personality. You peel a layer and the next one emerges. These complex snake individuals often know what confidentiality is all about. If you tell them a secret, they will take it to their grave. You can trust them with your life. However, they themselves struggle to trust other people. Even in close personal relationships, they will always hold that little bit back because intimacy is a challenge for complex snake individuals. Because they are so heavily into discretion, they do very well in careers that demand it. For instance, financial careers, stockbroking, trading, even psychotherapy, which requires client records to be kept confidential. These are some careers which are very well suited to the complex snake individual. Moving on to the coconut tree. Again, two variations here. Some people tend to draw the coconut trees without any coconuts, while there are some who will draw a lot of coconuts. Depending on how you've drawn your tree, you can now identify as either a type A or a type B personality. People who don't have coconuts in their tree are type A, and those who do are type B. What does a type A typically look like? These are the doers of the world. Their life looks like a constant, never-ending checklist. They want to keep doing and ticking things off that list. They feel restless and at ill ease when they are not doing something. And because they are so driven and committed to doing, they often become very successful at whatever field or career that they choose. The downside to the type A is that they don't know how to relax. They're so driven, so committed, because the moment they achieve a goal, they are satisfied for all of 10 minutes. Because after that, their mind starts thinking, what next? So they constantly need that intellectual stimulation. And because of this, they can drive themselves to exhaustion. They can really push themselves over the edge. And this can lead them to stress-related health issues. In relationships, type A individuals often tend to solve conflicts like that. The moment there is a conflict, they want to take the bull by its horns, they want to jump right in, fix, resolve, and move forward. Now, directly opposite to this is the type B personality. The type Bs are the laid back and chilled out individuals of the world. These are people who say, bas, enough. I'm not going to do beyond this. They may have a lot more potential, but they know when to limit themselves and say, okay, this is it. I'm not going to do more than this. So naturally, they know when to take a break, when to chill and relax. They can let their hair down, have a great time. They are the most satisfied and content people out there. The downside to this is they may become very complacent, or they may have a lot of potential which they never really exploit or reach. Also in relationships, the type B tends to be a little passive. At the first hint of conflict, they will drop everything and they will think of Mahatma Gandhi and say, oh, he said, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, and the problem will go away. But that's no way to handle relationships. Because of this, over time, it could lead to built up resentment and difficulties. Moving on to the mountains. Again, two distinct possibilities. You might have straight lines and rigid angles in your mountains. These are geometric mountains. Or you might have wavy lines and flowing curves in your mountain, which is the other possibility. Sometimes there's a third possibility where you integrate both. You have one geometric mountain and then one curvy mountain. What does this mean? The rigid angles and straight lines represent a very left-brained orientation. This means you're a logical, rational person who tends to think things through. You weigh your pros and cons, and your decisions are often based on facts or data. On the contrary, the curvy mountains represent an imaginative person, someone who's more emotional and prone to knee-jerk reactions and emotional decision-making. Finally, the house. Here, the only component that I would like you to look at is, does your house have a window or not? Houses which have window or windows represent open-hearted people who tend to wear their emotions on their sleeve. Just like looking in through a window tells you what's happening inside the house, taking one look at this person will tell you exactly what's going on inside of them. All of those upheavals, the emotions, you'll be able to pick it up like that with a person who draws windows. But someone who has a house minus windows or doors is a closed individual who has perfected the poker face. Such a person may be experiencing a tsunami of emotions on the inside, but when you look at them, you won't be able to tell. They look completely calm, completely poised, and it'll seem like they're not experiencing any emotion at all. They look completely at peace, calm, serene, almost zen-like. Now, based on these drawings and interpretations, I would like you to take some time and reflect on how much of this sounds like you. Here, I need to tell you a few disclaimers which are very important. This test by no way says everything about who you are. We've only examined 5 traits, and human beings are a collection of thousands of different such traits. As a result, we can't conclude that this is who you are. Second, this is a here and now kind of test. As in, if you took this test 5 years ago, the results would have been different. And if you take it 3 years from now, the results are bound to be different. The reason for this is we are continuously evolving and changing as human beings. This concept in neuroscience is called neuroplasticity. The brain is creating and developing new neural pathways on a daily basis. So you're a whole new person every single day. Having said that, these traits are therefore not set in stone. They are not fixed. They will definitely change and evolve as you do the same. Third and most important, the test is influenced by a lot of extraneous factors. Your mood, your temperament, where you're at in life right now, the experiences that you have been through recently, the top of mind recall, everything impacts this. Fourth, sometimes people with limited drawing skills struggle to do this test because in their mind they may be visualizing the most detailed and complex snake, but when they are drawing, they're not able to create it with as much detailing. So there is a disconnect or a mismatch between who they really are and what is showing up on the test. So I would never take this as a personality evaluation of sorts, but rather I would look at it as a starting point, and I would correlate this with a bunch of other tests before I make any decisions about a person. And I would encourage you to do the same as well. Don't conclude that this is who I am and it is set in stone and I'm doomed to be like this forever. No, this is where you're at today, here and now. And you have the power to change that at any point. Now, what is the purpose of having done this? I did this so I could set you off on that introspective journey to start thinking about yourself. Who am I? What's important to me? What matters in my life? What are some things I can let go of? What are some things I'm holding on to beyond their expiry date? All of these things become clear and evident as you reflect and process. Once you have a clear picture of this, the next natural stage in that process is determining your personal boundaries. Your boundaries determine whether or not your life is in balance or not. So it's really critical for you to do this kind of test. It doesn't have to be necessarily this. You can also explore other tests which are out there. You can speak with people, you can journal, you can use creative methods like art, but explore yourself deeply, understand yourself deeply. So then you will be able to establish boundaries. And boundaries are necessary in various different aspects of life, in different areas of life. This image gives us a list of those different areas in our life where we need to have healthy boundaries. Physical, emotional, verbal, time boundaries, work, spiritual, financial, and sexual boundaries. So very quickly, I'm going to take you through what each of these boundaries are and why some of them are really important to our well-being and to help us have a holistic, harmonious, and balanced life. Physical boundaries are about your personal space and your body. Whom do you let into your personal space? Who has access to touch your body? How do you treat your body? All of this comes under this particular boundary. Your emotional boundaries relate to your thoughts and your feelings. Here, there are some people who feel like they are at the mercy of their thoughts. They are obsessively churning with some thoughts, they are getting carried away, and the emotions are overwhelming. At this point, you can introduce a boundary and say, I'm not going to overthink. I'm going to step aside from this. I'm going to focus on something else. When you give your brain something concrete to focus on, you will notice that this unnecessary rumination of thoughts and feelings subsides. That's an emotional boundary that you need to create for yourself. Similarly, you can have emotional boundaries with people. Whom am I going to share my feelings with is an emotional boundary. How much of my feelings am I willing to share is another boundary. Verbal boundaries. This is about the topics that we talk about and discuss. It is in your power to choose what you will engage in as a conversation and what you will say no to. Again, comes back to yes, no. That's what boundaries are. Time boundaries. It's about protecting how you spend your time. This also includes saying no to spending time with people who just drain you. Or, like we looked at from our time pie example, once you notice that you're spending a lot of your time on things that are not really bringing you the satisfaction or joy you seek, you can say no to that and you can replace that with something else. And how powerful is that? Work boundaries. Now, we are all going to be joining the workforce soon. And it's important for you to realize that because you're young and driven and ambitious, it's all too easy to get carried away and allow work to eat into your personal time. When that happens, your life goes into imbalance. Everything becomes about work. No matter how much you enjoy it, how fulfilling work is, remember that it is still work. And it's only a part of your life and it's not your entire life. So it's really important to have work boundaries. And some significant things that help with this is having a definite start time and end time on a daily basis, making sure that you don't take on responsibilities of other people and you stick to your own job profile so you're able to finish what you need to do on time, and so on. Next is spiritual boundaries. This is about protecting your values and beliefs, standing up for what matters to you, not letting someone else bulldoze you with their opinions or their ideologies. That is spiritual boundary. How much time in a day do you spend maybe meditating or praying or connecting with source or the cosmos, whatever it means to you very deeply personally. Spirituality is a very personal concept, and it's up to you to create and hold down those boundaries. Financial boundaries. People don't talk about it very often, but financial boundaries are very important. What are these? You never have to reveal to anybody how much you earn. Your salary is your business. No one has the right to come and ask you, hey, what's your pay package? If you want to reveal it, if you choose to reveal it and wholeheartedly would like to reveal it, that's different. But if it makes you uncomfortable, you can always put that boundary and say, that's something I'm not comfortable discussing. Similarly, how you spend your money. Do you invest it? Do you save your money? Do you spend it all? That's your choice too. Having personal boundaries for yourself, saying that every month I'm going to only spend so much and not more than this, also is a form of boundary. So boundaries need not only be for other people, you can have boundaries for yourself too. Finally, sexual boundaries. Very, very critical, especially when you enter the workforce. Today, there are plenty of sexual harassment reports and cases that are documented, that get reported on a daily basis. So it's important for you to first educate yourself about this and make sure that you protect your safety at all times as well as your preferences. Sexual safety is not just about being molested or assaulted, but even when someone passes a comment which is loaded with sexual content and makes you uncomfortable, that also breaches your safety. So it's important for you to realize that all of this comes under your safety and protection. You can have boundaries where you can tell the person, I'm really not comfortable talking about this. You're establishing a boundary by doing that. Your preferences relate to your sexuality. Whom you choose to be sexual with is your business, and nobody, absolutely nobody, has a right to tell you this way or that. Again, whether you want to reveal it to someone or not, that's your choice too. These are all boundaries, and you have the power to decide how much you reveal, to whom you reveal, and so on. The third step in that process of developing a work-life balance is adopting a healthy lifestyle. What is a healthy lifestyle? And this is something I'm sure you've all heard of before. It's nothing new. I'm not going to be telling you something that you don't already know. But hear me out, because I'm going to bring in a new perspective to the very same thing. I advocate something called the triple E principle, EEE. That stands for eat nutritious food, exercise every day, and ease off at night. This basically relates to food, daily activity, and sleep. Some of you might be in the habit of skipping a meal. In your morning rush to get to college or to leave for work, you might say, oh, I don't have time for breakfast today. But that can have a deep and long-lasting impact because it affects your metabolism, it affects your weight, it affects your skin, and a host of other things. So it's really important to make sure that you don't miss meals. Second, make sure that your food, whatever you're putting in your body, is reasonably nutritious. I'm not saying you should never junk or that you should always eat healthy food, but at least 80% of the time, if you're feeding your body healthy, nutritious, natural, organic stuff, then your health is going to reflect that. Exercise. I'm sure you've heard enough about this. Some amount of physical activity on a daily basis is really important because once you get into the workforce, a lot of jobs, white-collar jobs, are sedentary. You're sitting at a desk and staring at a computer, for example. Unless you're in the performing arts and you're dancing every day, then you get your fair share of exercise that way. But a majority of the workforce is quite sedentary. You're just sitting in one place, not moving around much. So for such people, I would strongly recommend include some form of daily activity in your schedule. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to join the gym or a yoga class and very strictly in a structured way do exercises. No, you can choose your own form of exercise. If you enjoy dancing freestyle at home, play your favorite music and just dance around. Your body just needs that movement. If you like to walk, go for a walk in the morning, go to the beach and just walk around for 15-20 minutes in the fresh air. Whatever it is that works for you. Even climbing up and down a few flights of stairs is a great cardio workout. You don't need a gym, you don't need equipment. You can still have the same benefits if you could do that. The reason exercise is so important is it helps you detox. The moment you get your body moving, a lot of stuck energy in your body is released. Second, your body releases something called endorphins. These are the feel good hormones which help you stay in balance, feel the sense of well being. They are your body's natural painkillers, so to speak. So they elevate your mood, also help you stay healthy by boosting your immune system. That's why daily activity is so critical. Ease off at night. Yeah. So this is really important, especially for your generation, because I know so many people in this day and age, in this age group, who like to stay up till 2 a.m. and 3 a.m. They're chatting with their friends, they're gaming, they're on Discord, they're doing all kinds of things. Yes, they enjoy it, no doubt. But by the time they go to sleep, it's almost the wee hours of the morning. And then the following day, things don't wait. Work doesn't wait, college doesn't wait. So you're up at 6 o'clock, 6:30, and you're off, right? So when that happens, you're getting very limited hours of quality sleep at night. This throws your circadian rhythms completely off charts. Many people tell me, oh, but I make up for it by sleeping in the afternoon. But know this, it's not quite the same. Do you know why? When you don't sleep well enough. Sleep itself is something that goes through multiple stages, and at every stage of sleep, your brain experiences a certain pattern of waves. So these waves are called the alpha waves, beta waves, delta waves, theta waves, and so on. Every stage of your sleep connects with a type of wave, and that brain wave is essential for a certain purpose that it accomplishes. I'm not going to go into the technicalities or the details of it, but suffice it to say that your sleep itself goes through something called REM or rapid eye movement phase and non-REM or non-rapid eye movement phase, which is the deep sleep. When you just go to bed, that initial phase before you fall asleep, that's when the waves change from alpha or conscious waves to the beta and slowly slide into the theta phase. When this happens, your brain is slowing down, it's relaxing, it's going into that phase where it needs lesser oxygen, it doesn't have to perform any activities, it can settle in for the night. This is essential to rejuvenate the neural networks in the brain to help the brain integrate information that you have acquired throughout the day. Once you slide into sleep, you don't directly go into that deep sleep, but rather you are in that REM stage of rapid eye movement. This is where we also have our dreams. So when you look at someone in REM sleep, you will notice that their eyeballs are rapidly moving behind closed eyes. This is the stage of theta, where the brain is trying to make sense of all bits and pieces of information. This is really important. After about 90 minutes of REM sleep, the brain naturally settles into the delta zone of waves, and this is where the non-REM sleep begins, where it completely rests and settles. The eyeballs don't move so rapidly anymore, and the breathing slows down, heart rate goes down, the blood pressure comes down, overall metabolic activity slows. That's when it's the rest and digest state. This is also the state where maximum repair and rejuvenation happens, both at the cellular level in the body and at the neural level in the brain. So this is a very, very critical stage. It takes about 3 to 4 hours for this whole thing to occur. After this, we slide back into the REM sleep and then come back into wakefulness. And this whole process takes about 7 to 8 hours. And that is why the recommended number of hours of sleep per night is 8. Now, if you're concerned that, oh, I haven't really got enough of sleep and the continual 7 to 8 hours are not happening, knowing what happens when you don't get the 7 to 8 hours is first critical. What happens is that your brain is unable to process all the information. The brain starts to age very quickly. New neural pathways are not able to form and settle in. Essentially, when your brain ages, you end up with premature dementia, Alzheimer's, and all of these mental health conditions. Now, this can be a big panic-inducing situation. However, You could use a first aid method right now if there are some sleepless nights that you're having, which you absolutely cannot avoid. But remember, this is only a first aid technique, and you can't use this in the long run. The quick fix for sleep deprivation is to induce the delta waves in your brain. That's what we need, right? It's the delta waves which need to go through this whole process of beta, theta, and then delta. So the simple fix for sleep deprivation is meditation. When you meditate, your brain goes automatically into the delta phase, and the waves can compensate for what you lose in that deep night sleep. Moving on. The next thing that I would recommend is cut down on screen time. This is quite self-explanatory, and here I would like to share with you the case study of the person who created this time pipe. When we first did this in class, she had noticed that she's spending 6 hours in a day on screens, social media, doom scrolling, chatting, gaming, all of that. When she realized that that was not what she wanted and that she wanted to bring about a different kind of balance, she made a decision that she would only spend 2 hours in a day on screens. Note that it wasn't about quitting cold turkey saying I will never use screens, but rather it was about reducing the amount of time that went into screens from 6 hours to 2. And having specified time slots during the day, she decided I'm going to spend half an hour in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon, and 1 hour in the evening, and that's it. I will not spend any more time on screens. When she did this with discipline and mindfulness, she was able to do a whole lot of other things. She joined a salsa class, she joined a cooking class, and she also learned a new language. And today she's settled in Japan. So it just goes to show that the moment you make a conscious decision to cut down on screens, the quality of your life enhances, and you can do so much. You can do anything and achieve anything that you put your mind to. The last aspect of developing a work-life balance is about embracing mindfulness. Mindfulness as a concept is about being in the moment, in the here and now, and embracing the current moment or the sacred, precious present moment. And I'm going to help you to use mindfulness through some self-care practices which are simple, which help you to de-stress, tune into yourself, and relax. The first of these is called 5-4-3-2-1. This technique is about anchoring yourself in your body using your senses. All you need to do is follow my instructions. Step 1, reach around yourself and touch any 5 things that you can easily access. I am reaching out and touching this little monkey here. I'm touching this table. I'm touching my sari. I reach down and touch the floor, and I touch my watch. These are 5 things that I have touched. Now, I'm going to use the sense of eyes, and that's what I'm going to ask you to do. Use your vision to look around you and pick out any 4 things around you. So, using my eyes, I'm looking up at the ceiling, I'm looking down at the floor, I'm looking at my bangle, and I'm looking at the screen. That's 4 things. Next, with your eyes closed, identify any 3 sounds. I'm going to create 3 sounds. Notice if you're able to identify these. That is the first one. That's the second sound. And that's the third sound. Next, with your eyes open, locate any 2 things in your room which have fragrances and smell them. So I have these 2 things here. One is an inhaler that I'm sniffing, and the other one is a perfume. So I spray a little bit and smell that. So I'd encourage you to find any 2 things in your environment, in your vicinity, which has a fragrance, and sniff it. And lastly, If you are in a location where you can access a quick snack, I have some raisins over here. So pick the snack, gently place it on your tongue, and chew and bite into it. Enjoy the flavors, the textures, the sensations that it brings about in your mouth. So, this activity essentially, like I said, anchors you in your body. The reason this is so helpful is often when we are stressed or overwhelmed or feeling that sense of imbalance in our life, our mind becomes a time traveler, starts thinking about things in the past, thinks about things in the future. But the body doesn't join your mind in these time travels. It doesn't go to the future or to the past. It remains in the present moment at all times. So, by doing something which is rooted in your body, you're forcing your mind to come back to the present moment, and that's what mindfulness is all about. Second, I'm going to show you very simple breathing techniques, 3 of them. Each, again, I've used the acronym ABC. A stands for altered count breathing. Here you can choose any kind of a sequence. It can be a 3, 4, 5 if you're a beginner, a 4, 5, 6 if you're intermediate, or a 5, 6, 7, or even a 6, 7, 8 if you are advanced and you have good lung capacity. If you're a swimmer with a good lung capacity, you can even do longer sequences. What this means is you inhale for a count of, let's assume we are going with a 4, 5, 6. You inhale for a count of 4, hold your breath for a count of 5, and exhale for a count of 6. Let's try that together. I'll give you the counts. You just need to breathe with me. Ready? In, 2, 3, 4. Hold, 2, 3, 4, 5. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So when you deepen your exhale, you're forcefully flushing out all the toxins and the excess carbon dioxide that's left behind in your lungs. So it's an amazing way to detox and de-stress. Next, the B stands for box breathing. How this works is, it's also called square breaths. You breathe in for a count of 4, hold at the top for a count of 4, breathe out for a count of 4, and once again hold at the bottom for a count of 4. Let's try that now. In, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4, out, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. This again helps you recalibrate whatever is happening in your brain. How this helps is when you have an emotional overload, a sense of imbalance which permeates your right brain and makes you feel that everything's out of control, by breathing and integrating a count along with that, you're forcing your left hemisphere, the thinking part of your brain, to come back online so it can subdue this excessive emotional response. That's how this works. Finally, the C stands for candle breaths. This is very simple. Imagine that there's a candle placed in front of you. Breathe in and fill your lungs to capacity, and then breathe out forcefully through your mouth as if you're blowing out that candle. Let's try that now. Breathe in, fill your lungs, and breathe out forcefully. Again, a forceful exhale helps with detox by pushing out all that residual air that is left behind in your lungs. Finally, I have something called a neuro-soothing mechanism. I'm going to teach you 2 of them now. One is a self-soothing mechanism where you kind of give yourself a hug. How you do this is you place your left hand under your right arm and your right hand on your left shoulder, this way. And you take 3 breaths. 1, 2, 3. What this does is it communicates to your nervous system that whatever emotional overload is happening is contained within this body. So when we do a containment, it becomes so much easier to manage. We feel overwhelmed when we feel that everything is out there and it's pressing down on us and consuming us. But the moment we convey to our nervous system that we are safe and everything that's going on is right here within the container of my body, immediately there is a drop in that hyper alertness and you start to feel more grounded. The second technique is tapping, which also works as containment. You essentially tap everywhere on your body, right? This again tells your nervous system that, okay, I'm here, this is my body. This body contains everything that's going on, and it establishes that sense of grounding. These help to re-establish a sense of balance and well-being. When we feel like things are going out of control, that sense of imbalance takes over, and we feel like we don't really have everything within our hold. With that, we come to the end of today's program, and I'm going to quickly take you through a summary of all the things we looked at. We started with what work-life balance means. We understood what its importance was, what its need is in our lives, and then I shared with you this 5-step process using the acronym PEACE, P-E-A-C-E, to bring about a sense of balance and harmony in your life, which stands for prioritize yourself, establish healthy boundaries, adopt a healthy lifestyle with the triple E principle, cut down on the amount of screen time, and finally, some techniques of embracing mindfulness, which gives you the necessary sense of grounding and balance in your everyday life, thereby establishing that essential balance between work and life and enhances your well being. Thank you very much.